High above the South China Sea, Cathay Pacific Flight 780 began its final descent towards Hong Kong International Airport. Cathay Pacific Flight 780 began its final descent towards Hong Kong International Airport.
Pan, this is Cathay Pacific 780, requesting priority landing.
Captain Waters declared a pan to Hong Kong Air Traffic Control, requesting a priority.
Mayday. Cathay Pacific 780, double engine failure, requesting immediate assistance.
With the lives of over 300 passengers and crew in their hands, Captain Waters and his co-pilot faced an unprecedented crisis. Captain Waters uttered the chilling words that sent shivers down the spines of air traffic controllers, signaling the gravity of the situation. Flight 780 was now in a desperate race against time, with gravity as its relentless pursuer.
Outside the cockpit windows, the twinkling lights of Hong Kong, once a welcome sight, now served as a stark reminder of the unforgiving ground below, waiting for their descent.
Please remain calm and follow the instructions. We are preparing for an emergency landing, and your cooperation is crucial.
Every second ticked by with agonizing slowness, heightening the tension in the cabin. As Flight 780 continued its descent, the passengers held their breath. What had begun as a routine flight had transformed into a terrifying fight for survival, testing the limits of both the crew and the aircraft. It was a day that began like any other, with the sun rising over the horizon. The date was April 13th, 2010, a day that would soon be etched in aviation history.
Before the flight, Captain Waters conducted his routine pre-flight inspection. Nothing seemed amiss, and everything appeared to be in perfect order.
Welcome aboard Cathay Pacific Flight 780. Please make yourselves comfortable and enjoy the flight as we prepare for takeoff.
As the last of the passengers settled into their seats, the cabin crew began their final checks. The cabin doors swung shut, locking in the passengers and crew for the journey ahead. Sealing their fate within the A330's fuselage, the aircraft stood ready for departure. The air hummed with anticipation as the plane taxied towards the runway, preparing for its ascent into the skies. At the controls were two highly experienced pilots, Captain Malcolm Waters and First Officer David Haynes, both seasoned aviators with years of flying under their belts.
Ready for takeoff, David? Everything looks good on my end. Ready as ever, Captain. All systems are green.
Together, Waters and Haynes formed a formidable team, their skills and experience complementing each other perfectly, ensuring a smooth and safe flight. Their combined experience was a reassuring presence for the passengers, instilling confidence and calm throughout the cabin. They were prepared for a routine flight, expecting nothing out of the ordinary, just another day in the skies. Unaware that destiny had other plans in store, they focused on their duties with precision and care, ready to handle whatever came their way. As the passengers settled into their seats, a seemingly insignificant event was taking place on the tarmac below. An event that would have grave consequences for Flight 700.
During the refueling process, I noticed unusual vibrations in the fuel hose, which was highly unusual and concerning.
This stop-and-start procedure allowed small amounts of salt water to seep into the fuel lines, compromising the integrity of the fuel. The salt water began to attack the delicate super-absorbent polymer filters within the fuel system, causing them to degrade. The stage was set for disaster, though no one yet knew it as the aircraft prepared for takeoff. The SAP filters began to break down, releasing microscopic particles into the fuel stream, which would later cause significant issues. These particles were time bombs, ticking away within the belly of the A330, waiting to disrupt the flight. The pre-flight fuel checks revealed nothing unusual, giving no hint of the impending danger. The unsuspecting pilots completed their final preparations for departure, unaware of the lurking threat. Flight 780 was cleared for takeoff, its destiny now intertwined with the ticking time bombs hidden within its fuel tanks, setting the stage for a dramatic turn of events. As Flight 780 soared into the sky, the insidious effects of the contaminated fuel began to make themselves known, causing concern among the crew.
David, are you seeing this? The EPR readings on engine 2 are all over the place, indicating a serious problem. Yeah, Malcolm, I see it. This isn't normal at all. Let's start troubleshooting to identify the cause.
The pilots began to methodically troubleshoot the issue, hoping to find a solution before it escalated. The stage was set for a battle between human ingenuity and a hidden menace, with the safety of everyone on board hanging in the balance. Their initial attempts to diagnose the problem proved inconclusive, leaving them searching for answers.
Let's reach out to maintenance control for further assistance. Maybe they can help us figure this out and provide a solution.
I hear you loud and clear. Let's proceed with caution. Let's try manipulating the thrust levers and see how the engines respond to our inputs.
The EPR readings are still erratic, indicating an ongoing issue, but other parameters look normal, suggesting some systems are functioning correctly.
The maintenance engineer advised the pilots to continue their flight to Hong Kong despite the challenges, but to closely monitor the situation and be prepared for any further complications. The decision to continue to Hong Kong was not made lightly, considering the potential risks involved.
We need to consider everything: the abnormal EPR readings, the inconclusive troubleshooting results, and the advice of the maintenance engineer, who suggested it was safe to proceed. Diverting would mean stranding passengers far from their intended destination, causing significant inconvenience and increasing costs for the airline, which was already under financial strain.
The other engine parameters were normal, indicating no immediate danger, and the aircraft was flying smoothly, maintaining a steady course. The pilots had no reason to believe that the problem was about to escalate, trusting their training and experience. Flight 780 continued its journey, cruising smoothly through the skies, a silent drama unfolding within its metal skin, unnoticed by the passengers.
Would you like something to drink? We have a variety of options.
Keep an eye on those instruments. Any anomaly could be critical. We can't let our guard down, not even for a moment. We're less than 3 hours away from Hong Kong. Stay sharp. Let's hope our calculated risk pays off and we land safely.
The calm was deceptive, masking the impending danger, a mere prelude to the storm that was about to break, testing the crew's resolve. As the sun began its final descent, the pilots of Flight 780 initiated their descent into Hong Kong, hoping for a safe landing.
The persistent engine issues weighed heavily on our minds, creating an atmosphere of intense concern. We maintained a professional demeanor, our voices calm and measured as we communicated with air traffic control and the cabin crew, ensuring everyone remained composed.
They were flying on borrowed time, their fate precariously balanced on the edge of a knife, with every second counting. They were flying a ticking time bomb, and the clock was ticking down, leaving them with limited options. About 23 kilometers southeast of Hong Kong International Airport, disaster struck, putting everyone on board in grave danger.
The ECAM flashed a series of error messages. Engine 1 had suffered a catastrophic failure, leaving the pilots with limited options. Mayday, 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 Cathay Pacific, 780, double engine failure, requesting immediate assistance.
The response from air traffic control was immediate as they quickly began coordinating a plan, their voices calm and reassuring amidst the chaos, providing a lifeline to the distressed pilots. With both engines now completely inoperative, the situation grew more dire by the second. Flight 780 was transformed into a giant glider with no power to control its descent. At the mercy of the wind and the whims of gravity, the pilots had to rely on their training and skill to bring the aircraft down safely. As fear gripped the passengers and crew, Captain Waters and First Officer Haynes sprang into action, determined to save everyone on board. Their movements, honed by years of training, were swift and precise, their voices calm amidst the chaos, providing a sense of reassurance. The autopilot and flight directors were disengaged, giving the pilots direct control of the crippled aircraft, a critical step in their emergency response.
We desperately tried to restart the engines, following the emergency procedures drilled into us during countless hours of simulator training, hoping for a miracle. But our efforts proved futile, as the engines refused to come back to life. The engines, starved of fuel by the microscopic SAP particles clogging their vital components, remained stubbornly silent, leaving us with limited options.
Despite the dire situation, a glimmer of hope emerged as the pilots realized they still had some altitude to work with. They were still over 80 kilometers from the airport, but their altitude provided a precious commodity time, which was crucial for their survival. Time to troubleshoot, time to plan, and time to prepare for what would undoubtedly be one of the most challenging landings in aviation history, requiring all their skills and experience. The pilots, their minds racing, considered their options, weighing the risks and benefits of each potential course of action. Their altitude, though dwindling rapidly, gave them a fighting chance, a slim but real possibility of making it to the airport. They could attempt to glide the aircraft towards the airport, using their remaining altitude to reach the runway, a maneuver that required precision and skill. Or they could attempt a ditching in the waters surrounding Hong Kong, a risky maneuver with potentially catastrophic consequences, but one that might save lives. Each option carried its own set of risks and rewards, and the pilots had to make a decision quickly. The lives of 309 souls hung in the balance as the pilots of Flight 780 made a series of split-second decisions that would determine their fate, knowing that every second counted.
With the runway lights of Hong Kong International Airport growing ever closer, this is our last chance to make a safe landing.
The crippled A330, now little more than a giant glider, descended through the night sky, its fate hanging precariously in the balance as every second counted.
Waters, his face a mask of concentration, expertly maneuvered the aircraft, using every ounce of his skill and experience to extend their glide path and reach the runway.
He adjusted the flaps and slats, fine-tuning the aircraft's lift and drag, squeezing every possible second of flight time from their dwindling altitude, hoping it would be enough.
Beside him, First Officer Haynes, his eyes glued to the instruments, relayed vital information, their voices calm and steady amidst the mounting tension, knowing that precision was key.
Inside the cabin, the passengers and crew braced themselves for the inevitable, their hearts pounding in unison with the rhythmic thump of the aircraft's auxiliary power unit, the only sound breaking the eerie silence as they prepared for impact.
Waters, his mind racing, calculated their descent rate, their airspeed, their distance to the runway, and the margin for error.
The numbers were not in their favor, indicating a critical shortfall. They were coming up short, their glide path intersecting the ground several miles shy of the runway, a daunting realization.
A wave of despair washed over him, but he quickly pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. Failure was not an option, not with so many lives depending on him, not while there was still a breath of air beneath their wings and a chance to make it to the runway. With the runway threshold rushing towards us, I wrestled the controls, fighting to maintain control of the powerless aircraft, knowing that our lives depended on it. I aimed for the first few feet of the tarmac, knowing that every foot we missed would mean a harder impact, increasing the risk of a catastrophic failure. 500, 400, 300, the numbers ticking down as we braced for impact.
The wheels of the A330 slammed into the runway with bone-jarring force, the impact reverberating through the cabin, shaking everyone to their core. The aircraft bounced back into the air, its tires screaming in protest, before crashing down again, the second impact even more jarring. The A330, its fuselage groaning under the immense stress, skidded down the runway, sparks showering from its undercarriage, creating a trail of fire and smoke. Slowly, agonizingly, the A330 began to lose momentum, its wild dance across the runway gradually subsiding until it finally came to a halt, battered but intact. The screeching of metal on concrete gave way to an eerie silence, broken only by the hiss of escaping air and the frantic chirping of warning alarms, signaling the end of the harrowing ordeal. Inside the cabin, passengers and crew sat frozen in their seats, their bodies still tensed against the impact, their minds struggling to comprehend the sudden shift from terrifying descent to improbable stillness as they began to realize they were safe. The air, thick with the smell of jet fuel and burnt rubber, crackled with a strange mixture of relief and disbelief, as the reality of their survival began to sink in. They had made it. Against all odds, they had survived, and the enormity of what they had just experienced began to dawn on them.
Slowly, cautiously, the passengers began to unbuckle their seatbelts, their movements stiff and hesitant, as if afraid that any sudden motion might shatter the fragile calm. The cabin crew, their faces pale but composed, moved through the aisles, their voices calm and reassuring as they checked on the passengers, ensuring everyone was safe and uninjured.
Outside, the wail of approaching sirens pierced the silence, a stark reminder of the danger they had just escaped and the urgency of the situation they had narrowly avoided. Emergency vehicles, their lights flashing, raced across the tarmac, converging on the stricken A330 like moths drawn to a flame, ready to provide immediate assistance. Firefighters, clad in their heavy protective gear, swarmed around the aircraft, their hoses at the ready, prepared for any sign of fire or explosion, ensuring the safety of everyone on board. Medics, carrying stretchers and medical supplies, stood by, their faces etched with concern as they awaited instructions, ready to tend to any injuries. A sense of urgency pervaded the scene, a stark contrast to the stunned silence that had enveloped the cabin just moments earlier, as the reality of their miraculous survival began to set in. The investigation into the near disaster of Flight 780 was exhaustive and meticulous, leaving no stone unturned. The black boxes provided a chilling account of the events leading up to the emergency landing, revealing the sequence of failures. The investigation revealed a story of human error and the unforgiving nature of aviation, highlighting the need for constant vigilance. The breakdown of the SAP filters exposed a critical flaw in the fuel system, prompting immediate action to prevent future incidents. The pilots relied on their training and courage to bring the aircraft down safely, demonstrating the importance of preparedness. The near disaster served as a wake-up call for the aviation industry, emphasizing the need for rigorous maintenance and human judgment. The story of Cathay Pacific Flight 780 stands as a stark reminder of the ever-present risks inherent in air travel, emphasizing the importance of preparedness and training. A routine flight can transform into a fight for survival in minutes, showcasing the unpredictable nature of the skies and the critical role of quick decision-making. It is a story of remarkable human resilience, skill and courage displayed by Captain Malcolm Waters, First Officer David Haynes, and the entire crew, who worked together to ensure the safety of everyone on board. The safe landing of Flight 780 stands as a tribute to their bravery and skill, a beacon of hope amidst the wreckage and a powerful example of what can be achieved under pressure. The legacy of Cathay Pacific Flight 780 lives on as a testament to the indomitable human spirit and the enduring power of skill and courage, inspiring future generations of aviators.